All right, welcome back. Okay, so now everything's gonna tie in together a little bit. So, let's label our new pieces that we created because we didn't do that in the last part. We'll do the left side. I don't know, and then we'll name the mirrored part. Right side, right, and then we'll save that. Just Control S, little command or shortcut. Now let's go back to our assembly file. Boom, it auto updates from what we have before. I'll ask you, do you want to update in 3D space? Just click yes. Okay, so now we know that our motor, right, swings left to right. I want to build, it swings left to right? I want to build a little like ledge that the motor can sit on. So as the door comes down, it doesn't like collide with the ground. But how big is that ledge? Where does it go? Well, because we brought all our electronic components into our file, we can figure out exactly how big that needs to be, right? So let's see here. So first, let's start with our motor file, right? So let's bring this out a little bit. So SG90 micro server, that's what we're working with, right? You press move component. Now we can drag this around. I want this to be, I'll show you approximately where it should go. I want this to be, so right now it's in free drag. I kind of want to rotate it, so I'll expand this guy, and now I can whoa, rotate this around a little bit. I want it to be like on its side. So just like move it approximately into like the position that you want it. And now we're gonna use mate conditions to like put it into the orientation that we want it to be in. So you press mate. There's a couple of different mates that you can set to like basically pin things down in 3D space. So we're gonna select parallel, and I'm gonna click the bottom face of this guy, and I want this to be parallel to the ground of our floor. Boom. Parallel. And I also want this to be sort of like aligned correctly. So let's select the sidewall, and we'll click parallel, and we'll click a sidewall in here. Boom. So now it's like perfectly aligned, right? So now if we go to the front view, this is like perfectly aligned in 3D space. So if we rotate around to the back here, and we move this down like roughly where it should go. So that's in like the approximate area that we want this to go. And I want to build a little ledge that it sits on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my master file, and I'm going to build approximately what I want my ledge to look like, right? So one thing is our trap door is going to be, let me hide our planes, just click that little eye, pretty useful. I'm also going to hide this right wall for now just because it's kind of in the way. I don't want to clearly show you guys what's going on. Let's define where this is going to go. So basically a trap door is going to, if this is the hole of the opening behind the door, there's going to be a little trap door that slams down when you try and put your hand through, right? I don't want those two pieces of cardboard to rub right on top of each other, so there should be some space for a gap. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to create reference geometry. So now instead of sketching exactly on like something we've built or one of the existing front, top, or right planes, we can make our own plane. So I'm going to click reference geometry, and then I'm going to click plane. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this back surface of the entrance. And this can be defined by a distance. So let's just set this distance to 5 millimeters. We want a small gap between the front of between like the back surface of our entrance door and like where our trap door is going to come down because we don't want those two like rubbing against each other. So we clicked our first reference was the back area here, this back face, and then we clicked it's going to be 5 millimeters away from that. And if this is a little confusing, just follow along. You'll get it in a second. So this is you can't see it right now. Oh, we got to click the eye, right? All right. So this is what I was saying before. It's a little disorienting. I'm gonna hide these core planes again because it's throwing me off here. So now we make a sketch on this plane. We do new sketch on this plane. And basically it's just gonna look like a little table or something of that nature, right? So I told you about this feature a little bit before. It's super useful. So we're gonna use convert entity because we want to reference this edge in our sketch. But it's not in our sketch plane. So we have to bring it to our sketch plane to talk to it or create a dimension that references it. So if we click convert entities and then we click this edge and then we press check, boom, it brings that edge into our current sketch. And now we can talk to that edge to build stuff on top of it. So what I'm going to do is basically this is a solid line. Right now it thinks it wants that to be actually in the sketch or the new part that we're making, but I just want to reference it. So I'm going to click my line and then click construction geometry. So now it's lines that we can still like create dimensions or constraints to, but it's not like actually in our part or it thinks that we're trying to make any like geometry with it. So we brought that in as construction geometry. And now basically I just need like a little table type design that our servo motor can sit on. So it's not like rubbing against the floor as it's spinning back and forth. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll show you a couple tools in this process. I'll just create a generic like upside down U shape here. And we know that here, let's see here. We know that um our thickness of the cardboard is going to be 2.8 millimeters. So if you click offset entities and then you have select chain clicked and you click one, it'll automatically click for you the connected lines to it. So now we're creating an offset from the lines that we've already created. So our thickness is 2.8. Boom. Press enter. So now all of these lines are offset from whatever we define these outside lines as. And we also have to connect them on the bottom. Like that. We just want to make a little table that our servo motor can sit on. Let's do... This sits a little high right now. This is 29, maybe 10. And we can change this later if we want. That's a little too low, maybe. 15 might be good. And then we also have to set how long this thing is. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. We'll just make this 50. And then, basically right now this can slide back and forth. So we need to tell it how far away maybe from this wall this needs to be. We'll press dimension. We'll click this point and then this point. And we'll make this 10. All right, so now everything's black. It's fully defined. Our sketch is done. We'll X out of that. Now we'll extrude this out. This doesn't have to be that big. Boom. All right. Well, let's bring that out. I don't know. We're going to fix this in a bit. I'm going to show you guys a trick. We'll uncheck merge result because this is a new part. Boom. Okay, we'll save that. Now let's go back to our assembly file. This is where everything... Oh, whoops. This is the model I have finished doing. Now let's go back to our assembly file. Whoops. I meant to press yes. So if you want things to update, if you made a change and you want things to update, in your assembly file and they haven't, click this assembly knot up to this like traffic light. It's called the rebuild, and I'll just like update everything for you. All right. So basically, what we want is our servo motor to sit on top of this table, right? So we can drag this servo up, and then we're going to click mate again. We're going to click coincident, which basically just means like on top of, and we'll click the bottom of this servo and the top of our little table, and now those two surfaces are going to touch each other, and then we press check. Boom. It's still like sliding around, but that's basically what we want, right? So that looks pretty good. We might have to get a little bit closer. Okay, so now I want, let's say that, let's create a couple more mates because this is sliding around, right? Let's get this fully defined so it can't move around. I'll click mate. I'll click coincident. And I want this back piece to line up with this face. So now it's perfectly aligned like that, right? And let's say I want this piece to perfectly align with this. Boom. Snaps into place. Now this is fully defined and it can't go anywhere. Okay, so let's say, and the table is a little too far right. I want the table to slide over. This is where the cool part comes in. You click your master file in your assembly tree, and then you press edit component, and now you can make changes to your part file in the assembly file. So this is highlighted blue, which means that's what we're currently working on. That's the work part. And now if we go to our feature, we can make changes however we want. So let's say, okay, so let's edit our sketch while we're in this mode. Let's say, this is a little long, right? We don't need it to be this long. Let's change it to 40. What does that look like? That's not really what I wanted. Great. Oh, I know what to do. Let's do another, let's slide the whole thing over a little bit. And then we'll make it a little bit shorter. Change that to 40. Boom. Now I press edit sketch. Click out of edit component. And then press rebuild, make sure everything updates. And I'll just save real quick. And now everything updates in real time and we can make changes however we want, right? Okay, so that's a little bit about how to create where we're building through our project, right? But at the same time, I showed you a little bit how to edit parts in an assembly file and how they relate to each other and how you can use relationships dependent on one another to like make changes live in your design in your assembly file. I'll see you in the next part where we make the actual like motion of the closing door.